I think it's good, yeah. Hi, I'm Deezen. I'm an actor. I've been in a lot of movies since Grease. Grease was my first one, and I've been through movies all through the Polar Express. I've done cartoon shows. I'm Mandark on Dexter's Laboratory, and I've done TV appearances in different shows and cartoons and a lot of stuff like that. Yeah. I started in 1976. I used to work at the Comedy Store. I did stand-up comedy, and I had a hard time with that because I couldn't memorize lines. I would go on stage and I'd have cue cards. I literally had to have index cards, and I'd read my routine. They go, "This is Eddie Deezen," they'd applaud. I go, "Sure, but will you respect me in the morning?" That was my opening joke, and I'd read my whole thing off cue cards. I didn't like that. I didn't have the stomach for stand-up. Some guys are made for it, but I didn't like it. Anyway, later that year, I did The Gong Show with Chuck Barris, the old Gong Show, and I did a stand-up routine, and Paul Williams, the singer, gonged me. He took the gong and gonged me, so that was my TV debut, and then I got Grease the next year. Grease was my first film, so I lucked out. Yeah. I like being an actor. Well, there's several things. I couldn't really do anything else, so I became a comedian. I couldn't really do anything else in the world, so I became an actor and a comedian. I love the nice people you meet in the business. The showbiz people are the nicest people in the world. Sometimes at an audition, it'll get a little dog-eat-dog and it's competitive, but as a rule, they're the nicest people in the world, showbiz people. They're creative people, they're wonderful. I like it's kind of like the free schedule of it. Like if you're a plumber or a lawyer, your life is kind of like more regimented. There's a set thing. Showbiz, there's always this unknown. Every job, there's always a question mark, what are you gonna do next, So I kind of like that mystery of it too. It's kind of fun, yeah. I guess, of course, early days, the money was a struggle. You try to keep going. My dad helped me out in the early days. My dad, this sounds funny nowadays, but this was 1976. My dad would send me $400 a month, and that paid my rent and my bills in those days. Nowadays, that'll pay like one day's rent somewhere, but in those days, that was enough to get me by, so that was a struggle. Once you make enough money to keep going, it takes a lot of the pressure off an actor, because money's always a struggle, yeah. I would say, even though it's ironic because it's my smallest role, but probably Grease because of the scope of Grease. Grease is so big, and I play Eugene. I'm the geeky guy. I have 3 lines in the whole movie, 3 or 4 lines. It's a small role. I walk down the stairs, and then later get hit with a pie, and then I bop around in the dance scene. That's all I do in the movie. But because it's Grease, I always go, I'm like a guy in Gone with the Wind. One of the soldiers got, the battlefield scene in Gone with the Wind where there are dead corpses. Those guys, for their whole life, they probably go, I'm one of the corpses in that scene in Gone with the Wind. And that's kind of how I am in Grease. I'm this little guy in Grease, not an important character, but I'm just this little guy. But it's this big iconic film, so it's kind of cool. So that would probably be the one, yeah. I like voice acting as a relief for me. You know why? Because I can't memorize lines. I have a hard time. And it's got worse as the years have gone by. I always forget my lines. Like when I did Polar Express, Bob Zemeckis, the director, he had my cue cards. He had cue cards for every line. I had Bob Hope's cue card holder. He got me the guy that held cue cards for Bob Hope, and I read every line in that movie. It's just hard for me. Some actors like Jackie Gleason, they can just look at a script and read, they know every line, and I can never do that, so that makes it easier. But you like non-voice actors, you like to, look at the guy in regular acting. You like to see the guy and act with him, talk to the girl and all that. That's kind of fun too. So they're both kind of fun, This is the advice, and every actor probably gets that question from younger actors. They say, what do you do in the business? What's your advice? And this is what I always say. Do you remember James Garner from the Rockford Files? There was an actor called James Garner who did the Rockford Files. When he got in the business, his father said, give it 5 years. He goes, it's a 5-year rule. Go in the business, give it everything you've got for 5 years. He goes, if you don't get a role after 5 years or something happens, he goes, you probably don't have it. And 5 years isn't a big percentage of a person's life. You can go to something else, you can change for that. So I always say, give it 5 years, give it your best, and hopefully something will turn up. I hope you achieve your dreams in 5 years. And usually if you've got something, it will within 5 years.